Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Google+. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Sunday, March 20th, 2016, around 7:38 in the evening, Billerica, Massachusetts. The sun went down, now it's cloudy. It's about 34, 35 degrees. Tonight and tomorrow, some snow. And depends where you live. Some places could get up to a foot of snow in southeastern Massachusetts, while other places could get 1 to 3 inches. And some school systems are canceling school. Boston's canceling school tomorrow, and this might not be a good idea. What happens if the snowstorm bombs out and they get absolutely nothing? Safety first, but it could be, it could blow over and it could look bad on this. I bet Billerica, Massachusetts has a 2-hour delay. Depends how much snow gets, how the banding is, and how far it develops. If it develops too far out, the snow totals will be less. One little news item before my third and final video blog of the night is Sean Figgins is going to sign a 1-day contract with the LA Angels of Anaheim, and he's going to retire from Major League Baseball. He spent most of his career with the Angels. And that's about it on news. March Madness still going on TNT and TBS and True TV, so catch the action with Matt Weiner and Ernie Johnson hosting. That's about it on that. I have the third and final video blog subject of the night. Tonight's video blog is the personality profile, and tonight's personality profile is about former WCW president and former general manager of Raw, Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff was the one man who almost put Vince McMahon out of business when he ran WCW. He created the NWO, and he was actually part of the NWO for a while. Eric was born in Detroit, Michigan, and he grew up in Minnesota. He loved watching professional wrestling, the AWA. Also, Eric developed kickboxing skills. He actually appeared on AWA program as a teenager for a contest that Vern Gagne was running, and he appeared on AWA All-Star Wrestling back in the 70s. Before Eric Bischoff got involved in professional wrestling, he had several jobs. He worked as a kickboxer for a while. He was a black belt in karate. He also owned his own landscaping business and worked as a veterinarian assistant. And he was a meat cutter and sold meat out of a truck to support himself and his family. That's a true story. When Hulk Hogan said Eric Bischoff would be still selling meat out of a truck in Minnesota, that was true. And like when he turned heel on the end and joined the NWO in 1996. Then Eric Bischoff worked for the AWA, handling their sales department. The AWA was dwindling down and down. He got on television by an accident in like 1989 when they needed somebody to do interviews for AWA programming. The guy who used to do the interviews, Larry Nelson, was in jail, so they had to get Eric Bischoff out of the office, and he appeared on television. And he was reluctant to do it, but they gave him a little more money. And Eric Bischoff was doing interviews on AWA television and some announcing for the dying days of the promotion. He also did some work behind the scenes. He did some booking. He was rumored to be in the concept of the Teen Challenge series, but he denies that. But that was just a rumor. When the AWA went out of business, Eric Bischoff was basically had to file for bankruptcy protection because he couldn't afford his house. His family was eating hot stocks and beans for dinner, and he tried to get a job in the world of professional wrestling. He tried out to become a WWE announcer in early 1991, but he was rejected. Then in the summer of 1991, Eric Bischoff signed with WCW as like a backstage interview announcer and did some syndicated programming, the B-level shows and international broadcast for about a couple of years. Then he started to do some behind-the-scenes stuff. In like 1993, Eric Bischoff became kind of executive producer of WCW, and he heard that Hulk Hogan was leaving the WWE, and he looked into trying to get him. WCW moved its TV tapings from Georgia to MGM Disney Studios in Orlando, Florida. They taped several months in advance, and that's how Eric Bischoff met Hulk Hogan. And Eric Bischoff signed Hulk Hogan to a contract in WCW, and eventually Eric Bischoff became in charge of the creative side of WCW and executive vice president. And he convinced Ted Turner that WCW needed to go head-to-head with the WWE on Monday nights, and he kind of created Monday Nitro. Eric Bischoff was a play-by-play announcer for Monday Nitro for the first 14-15 months of the show, and he would give away WWE results on television because it was a tape show that was a dirty-minded trick. And WCW for the first 6, 7, 8 months on Nitro was struggling on the ratings with WWE. They were evening out, and Eric Bischoff was not a great announcer, but he came up with the NWO because Kevin Nash and Scott Hall signed with WCW. And then eventually Kevin Nash threw Eric Bischoff through a powerbomb him through a table at Great American Bash. And then a few months later, Eric Bischoff joins the NWO, and that gets the ratings high for WCW. Him joining the NWO, he became kind of the spokesperson and manager for the NWO with Hulk Hogan, and he became a hated villain. And WCW ratings were going high and high and high, and Eric Bischoff was continuing to sign talent from WWE. WCW beat the WWE in 84 straight weeks, and this was at a time when Vince McMahon WWE was so struggling that it almost went out of business, and Eric Bischoff could have put Vince McMahon out of business. But eventually all the top WCW stars had creative control in their contracts. Eric Bischoff was spending too much of Ted Turner's money, and when the NWO went south, or when it got old, the storyline, he couldn't find the next big thing for WCW to get hot. Like Goldberg was very, very hot, but once his undefeated streak went down, they couldn't find something else, another big angle to do, and eventually the ratings went downward spiral. Eric Bischoff had heat with a lot of the boys backstage who wanted to have friends like Ric Flair and Arn Anderson and Chris Benoit, and basically the Four Horsemen, and Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero and the others. Eric Bischoff also had feuds with Jay Leno. He wrestled Jay Leno and he appeared on The Tonight Show. He also wrestled Ric Flair a few times. Eventually, Eric Bischoff became he lost the presidency of WCW to Ric Flair at Monday Nitro, and Ric Flair kind of demoted Eric Bischoff to ring crew and ring announcer and doing Gopher stuff, which was pretty funny. That angle was pretty funny. And in due time, Eric Bischoff continued to kind of work backstage in WCW, but the ratings would continue to go down and down. In September of 1999, Eric Bischoff was removed as vice president of WCW, and he was sent home to Wyoming for a while. 7 months later, he returns, and he is put with Vince Russo, and they formed the group New Blood, and it was a decent thing, but just did not approve. And this was at the time the AOL Time Warner deal merged, and Time Warner owned WCW, but they were looking to unload it. Eric Bischoff had a plan to buy WCW. He and a group called Fusion Media was set to buy WCW. They had a tentative agreement with Time Warner to buy WCW, contingent upon if TNT and TBS would keep the programming. March of 2001, the president of Turner Networks, Jamie Cannella, said that pro wrestling did not fit the Turner Networks at that time because they were going in a different direction and canceled Nitro and Thunder. And Time Warner says you could have the range, you could have the videotape library, but we're not going to air your programming. And Eric Bischoff and Fusion said that deal was worthless, so they pulled out. And that's how WWE bought WCW. I'll explain that on a blog tomorrow. Eventually, Eric Bischoff was out of the wrestling business for about a year. He teamed with Jason Hervey to produce some reality shows. In July of 2002, Eric Bischoff appears on WWE Monday Night Raw, and he becomes the general manager of Raw. Him and Vince McMahon embraced. And that was one of those surreal moments on WWE TV. Two bitter rivals embracing. I never thought I'd see the day. And Eric Bischoff becomes a heel general manager for the next 3 years. He was a Raw general manager. He was pretty good. Feuded with a lot of baby faces, including Stone Cold Steve Austin, Chris Jericho, John Cena. He kind of have 3-minute warning. He got into arguments with JR and Vince McMahon. It was, he was playing the role pretty good as a heel general manager. Eric Bischoff did not have any booking control of WWE, which was a good thing. And Eric did a pretty good job in that role. Eventually, Eric Bischoff was getting the storyline continued to grow that his job was being bad on WWE television. And in November of 2005, Vince McMahon fired Eric Bischoff as general manager, and they threw him in the trash barrel in the trash truck. But he took some time off because he wanted to write a book, Controversy Creates Cash, an autobiography. Eric was originally hesitant to write an autobiography, but he did, and it was a good bestseller. He made some sporadic appearances in 2006-2007 for the WWE, but eventually he left in 2008, and then in 2010, Eric Bischoff shows up again in professional wrestling, TNA, with Hulk Hogan. They form a group called Immortal. Was a heel faction, and Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan were running crazy for a couple of years with that. Eventually that angle dried up, and then Eric Bischoff works backstage for TNA for a few more years, but 2014 he was sent home because TNA was having some money problems. And in 2015 Eric Bischoff sued TNA for unpaid salary, because TNA has some money problems. You'll probably never see Eric Bischoff get inducted into TNA Hall of Fame. Eric Bischoff is involved in a lot of projects. He has his own video game company. He has his own brewery. He and Jason Harvey, who's famous for Arnold on the Wonder Years and used to be Missy Hyatt's boyfriend, produced a lot of reality shows in the past, including Scott Baio is 46 and 45 and single and 46 and pregnant. And also he did some Girls Gone Wild stuff, and has talked that Eric Bischoff might return to professional wrestling. He's negotiated with Global Force Wrestling and with Double J Jeff Jarrett, and he could see Eric back in action sooner and later. Eric Bischoff had a great career in the world of professional wrestling, and I don't know if he'll ever get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. They're saying he's still on. He in his book he said that he enjoyed his time with the WWE. They treated him like respect and stuff. So it's possible that Eric Bischoff could go into the WWE Hall of Fame one of these days. And that's about it on Eric Bischoff, and that's about it on these video blogs for tonight. Tomorrow, 3 more video blogs coming your way. First video blog will be about the top 50 greatest game shows of all time, starting from number 50 to 41. Second video blog will be about my predictions of the 2016 NCAA men's hockey tournament. Tell you what's going to happen, who's going to advance, and who's going to win the championship. Third and final video blog of the night will be about Pro Basketball Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen. Keep calm, everybody. I'm a Julie Burton guy. Molly Roseblood of WCC all rocks and has nice legs. Elizabeth Hart so stunning, she's the best. Amy Swansea so awesome. Julie Gower of Fox 25 is the best. Alex Cordry of 7 WHDH rocks and his legs are so stunning. They're nice. And in the words of Dickie Ackroyd Jr., director of the Boys and Girls Club of Great America, the more the merrier. And I know. Good night. See you tomorrow.